Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions.
That cover's so awesome.
Absolute format is the best way to own this store. Time to empty those wallets and fill those shelves. How's it going, everyone? This is the Uncanny Omar from Near Mint Condition, the home of collected editions. And we are continuing the tradition of getting a bunch of YouTubers together to talk about their favorite read of the year. So let's go ahead and check out what people have to say. And welcome back, everybody. So I've been doing this for the last couple of years, inviting YouTubers to talk about their favorite reads of the year. So what this is it will showcase a variety of different online personalities and talking a little bit about their channel and what their favorite read of the year was. And if you don't see your favorite YouTuber there, well, it gets really busy towards the end of the year. So, maybe next year. I love having folks on board coming and talking about comics. So it's one of my favorite videos to put together. I will be doing my own personal list December 31st, so the last day of the year. So that's enough of me talking. Let's see some of these familiar faces, and maybe not so familiar faces to you all, and what they have to say about their favorite reads of the year.
I'm DomofXComicReleases.com assistant editor and also manager of Near Mint Condition, along with being a content creator. And this year, my top comic of 2024 is none other than Absolute Wonder Woman, issue number 1 by Kelly Thompson, Hayden Sherman, Jordi Belair, and Becca Carey. At the hands of the DC All-In special that came out in October, the most stunning development has been the Absolute Universe. While all three titles have unique spins on characters and deep substance, the comic that stuck out the most for me this year has been Absolute Wonder Woman, a take on Diana unforeseen before this new year. We follow a completely different universe as this Amazon is unearthed, and while her backstory is different, the world she lives in is different, her mission is different, it still remarks as a fantastic number 1 issue. But what Thompson establishes here isn't just the foundation for a completely fresh take on the character. The stunning twist in issue 1 imprints an emotional layer that I was not expecting, but weighed it up in the best way possible. Sherman's beyond spectacular framing in the issues, along with drawing 2 books at one time, the other being Batman Dark Patterns with Dan Waters, Belair's smooth color palette in bringing the world to life, and Becca Carey's text boxes, font choice, along with the scratched out words, also elevate this issue to stand amongst the rest of not only the Absolute titles, but the rest of the DC universe. Kelly Thompson has been absolutely killing it on all fronts, and I'm so lucky to have read so many amazing comics this year. But if I did have to choose between the rest of the titles, I would pick Absolute Wonder Woman 10 out of 10 times. It succeeds on all fronts, on setting a foundational, fundamental basis, on hooking the reader in an opening paragraph and an essay, while contextualizing emotion in a way that connects to the reader.
Ladies and gentlemen,
boys and girls,
collectors of all ages,
we are
aussieverse. That was terrible.
Sucks.
That didn't work. And we are here to say thank you very much for Near Mint Condition for selecting us to be a part of this end of year roundup where we get to say our number 1 reads. And I am going to present something to you that has gone down in history as not being that great. So it might be a little controversial. And the reason why I am selecting this as my number 1 read of the year is because I have been bogged down by new comics the entire year. And I'm sorry to say, not to put a negative spin on things, but the reality is that the new comics I have not been enjoying. Spider-Man hasn't been that great. Punisher has been MIA. Thor has been a little bit Everyone's going nuts about Fantastic Four. I don't really like it. So I went and read an old omnibus because I realized that I had never actually read the whole thing. And my favorite story of the year, I am so sorry because people are going to hate me, is Secret Wars 2. And the reason why this is my favorite read of the year is because when you have been bogged down by new comics for the last 365 days and you take a dip into the old school stuff, it really makes you appreciate the old comics. Roger Stern, Tom DeFalco, these people knew how to write comics. And I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, if you remember Secret Wars 2 to be not great, I implore you to read the entire event, not just the 9 issues, because this is how an event should be written. If this was a movie today, it would be an absolute masterpiece about an omnipotent being trying to make his way through the Marvel universe, fall in love with Dazzler, do drugs, become a rock star, leader of a cult, all of the things. It is absolutely fantastic, and I loved every freaking minute of it.
Falling in love with Dazzler's not a headline.
It's a big book. Though I can't say the same for me. My favorite read for this. Okay, right. So I kind of jumped off the big two and got onto the Image bandwagon. And what I've really liked about this particular book is this is Regression by Cullen Bunn and Danny Luckett. The whole story is told in 15 issues. You can't find this anywhere because this is a custom, but there is a official deluxe. I did this before it got announced anyway. So we are thrust into the cult that lives through reincarnation, and when the main character gets how shall I say, gets weird.
We're meant to be
dreams.
2 minutes.
3 minutes already. He'll make it. He'll edit it. So the occult, black magic, lives through the years, and the personas are all brought forward to the present through hypnotism, regression. So, find out more.
All right. So I'm going to do something a little different. So we talk about our favorite reads, but I'm actually going to talk about a series of books of a particular hero that I've just recently started to get into, and he's quickly taken up as my number 2 all-time favorite DC hero now, which is pretty cool. And it's Red Hood. Now, I hadn't read much Red Hood before, and I've picked up a few books, and I freaking love this character. He is awesome. It's his whole background. I mean, obviously, I understand the whole Jason Todd, being killed, Joker, etc., story, but his whole backstory and everything I knew nothing about. So this has been an absolutely fascinating journey for me, and I can't wait to get stuck into more Red Hood. It's just been a really fun journey for me this year.
Fantastic. Thank you, Near Mint Condition, and Aussieverse is and always will be for
Life.
Hey everybody, this is Wonder Maddie from Near Mint Conditions live Tuesday show, Old Reader, New Reader. And my favorite book of the year has to be Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees. This was sold to me as Richard Scarry meets Dexter, which is the perfect description of this book. And I don't want to give too much away, but I will say this was my favorite horror book of the year. One of the most colorful horror books I've ever read, and you'll fall in love with this town. It's very unique creatures and our little serial killer here on the cover. Check it out. Happy New Year.
Hello, all you minties out there. This is Vactor from ThisComicCooks. I just got to tell you about the most amazing thing that I read in 2024. Nick Dragotta and Scott Snyder's Absolute Batman is cooking on all cylinders. Starting off this whole Absolute Ultimate Universe type DC thing, I got to tell you, I was blown away. There was a bunch of hype, and it lived up to it. This book is amazing. A new direction for Batman that we haven't seen before. Very similar, I think, to Ultimate Spider-Man when it first came out. It just kind of set up a new alternate universe, and then it also took the character in a new direction and a new a modernization and a different type of excitement for that character. So I can't tell you how much I'm loving Absolute Batman. There's only 2 issues out so far for this year, 2024. But man, 2025 is going to be amazing. if they just keep up this idea that Scott Snyder had of where to take Bruce Wayne and Batman. It's amazing he's still got ideas. This guy who did the New 52 Batman and did the Black Mirror, which was my favorite absolute of all time. I just can't talk enough about Scott Snyder, Batman, Nick Dragotta's art. Oh man, it was fantastic. Thank you very much, Omar. You are amazing. You are the absolute Omar. I love you, brother.
Howdy, y'all. DBZALLSTAR of the Den of DBZALLSTAR here with you, or Steve if you prefer. And I've been blessed and privileged to be asked by Omar of the always wonderful Near Mint Condition to participate in his annual holiday video that showcases the best read of 2024. So I could have gone down the route of the new G.I. Joe series from Image Comics. I could have talked about Beneath the Trees Where Nobody Sees, but I want to be a little nostalgic with you because there's a series I've been waiting to see fully collected for quite some time. And if you're looking at the beautiful Funko Pops that I still have in my collection, you know what it is. Back in 2018, we started getting these complete collections for Spider-Girl by Tom DeFalco, Ron Friends, spinning out of What If Volume 2, issue 105. And for 2 years, the line just ended. But earlier this year, we achieved an accomplishment of seeing a new line start. Please, Marvel, finish the series in this line. My favorite read of 2024 is going back and revisiting Spider-Girl. This year, we've had Volume 1 of the Modern Era Epic Collection, Legacy, and Volume 5 of the Modern Era Epic Collection for Spider-Girl, Keeping the Faith released. And what's wonderful about Volume 5, it picks up right after Volume 4. Have a lot of nostalgia for this. I've never been a teenage girl, obviously, but it's all about living up to a legacy while forging your own path and creating your own. I think that speaks to all of us. It's got some wonderful writing, very heartfelt writing. Thank you, Omar, for this opportunity. Happy holidays, and let's move on to 2025 together.
Hey everyone, thank you so much for having me on here. Special thank you to Omar for asking me to make my end of the year pick of my favorite book I read, which is Ultimate Spider-Man Volume 1. Now, little asterisk, I have read Ultimate Spider-Man previously, but only the first volume of the trade paperbacks. This was my very first time going beyond that and reading the omnibus, which I was extremely excited for because I've heard so many great things about it, and yeah, it holds up to its reputation. My favorite aspects of the book were definitely transparent in part of my childhood because this influenced a lot of the Sam Raimi movies. So it was so cool reading the source material and getting to see beyond what I've seen previously. Now you get some amazing characters, some redesigns of certain characters, looking at Goblin, True Goblin. Now, this is a phenomenal book. If it's still in print, you should definitely pick it up. If it's not, hopefully it's not that much on the aftermarket. But I want to say thank you so much again to Omar for asking me on here. Everyone keep reading and stay bold. See ya.
Hey, Minties. We're two old geeks talking. I'm Rob.
And I'm Trace.
And we are two brothers with over 100 years of a geek experience between the two of us.
Yes.
We started our channel a few years ago because the small comic book store we used to unite at every Wednesday closed down. And that's kind of where we met Omar.
Yes, it is.
And we kind of missed that communication with other like-minded people. So we started this channel that covers everything from movies, cosplay, D&D, Comic-Cons, anything you can think of that's geek-related. We've hit it or we'll soon get to it.
Absolutely. And so we appreciate Near Mint Condition and inviting us to do YouTube's Best Reads of 2024. And so our pick is, well, first off, we grew up watching Westerns.
Right.
So on Saturday morning before cartoons, when we were boys, there'd be the old black and white Westerns. Mm-hmm. And, I remember Roy Rogers and Dale Evans, The Lone Ranger. And so when we started collecting comics, we carried our love for Westerns over to the comics. So you're a huge Jonah Hex fan.
Big Jonah Hex fan.
And, I read Desperados and Loveless, and so I like a good Western comic as well.
And so our pick is the Enfield Gang Massacre. It's a fantastic story. It's written by Chris Condon and drawn by Jacob Phillips. They're the same guys that did Texas Blood, which is real popular. This is a prequel of sorts. Happens 150 years before Texas Blood. And without giving too much away, it's a story of an outlaw gang who gets wrongly accused of a crime. And the town really comes down on them hard. And so, as a reader, you're like, well, they really didn't do the crime they're accused of, but they did a lot of other crimes. So,
Karma.
Yeah, so maybe it's karma, karma coming back on them. But the art in it is fantastic. One thing that kind of threw me off at first, but then I got to like, was at the end of each issue, they would have a page like this. And what it was somebody's investigating this gang. So somebody from modern times is investigating this outlaw gang from the 1800s. And so he was piecing together stories he'd read from this place and that place, and it did real good on building the characters, because this collects 6 issues, and when you're trying to build characters in 6 issues, that's near impossible.
Right.
And so the more vested you are in the character, the better the story is. So those parts that threw me off at first, I ended up liking, because they kind of fleshed out a lot of the characters. So when a character would step onto the panel, as it were, I was already familiar with him. So, and his backstory. So that made things interesting. But yeah, definitely check it out. It's like a mixture of Quentin Tarantino and Jonah Hex. And so it's something I think you'll really, really enjoy.
Cool.
And I hope you guys have a Merry Christmas.
Happy New Year.
And a Happy New Year. Thanks.
I'm done.
I'm done.
You're done?
I'm done.
All right, we're done.
I'm Adjectiveless Alicia, and my read of the year is Namor the Submariner, Volume 1 of Mighty Marvel Masterworks. Me and my sister and my poppy do the reviews of these every year, and so I really like this one. We did it earlier this year. I like it because it's like it's easier to understand more than the other Mighty Marvel Masterworks and some of the older stories. I like Namor as a character, and I like that there's like a 6-part story in this where he has to try to get back the throne from Krang, and I thought that was really cool. The writer was Stan Lee, and the art was by Gene Colan, which I thought was really cool. I really liked the art, and I like the character designs of some, like the villains and Namor himself, and I thought he did expressions really well. And that was my pick of the year. You can also watch our reviews of Mighty Marvel Masterworks on other videos on the channel. Stay minty.
Hey everyone, it's Julian from bdcosmos. I'm back to tell you about my favorite book of 2024. And to be honestly, to no surprise, it's Ultimate Spider-Man from Jonathan Hickman and Marco Cicchetto. It's easily the best book I read every single week, every single month that comes out. So we've got the first trade paperback that came out, and as of this week, the 12th issue of the year is also releasing on December 18th. And the high points of this particular issue turns the whole book around. I'm super excited for year 2 of Ultimate Books, but Ultimate Spider-Man is my number 1 of 2024.
What it do, comic babies? I'm bunkmastab, and my book of the year is Unsuelo by Emma Rios. This is a fantastically written and watercolor painted magical realist book by Emma Rios. She does everything all herself and tells the story of children who are caught at the end of the world after waves come up and crash and destroy the rest of it. And it's really a reflection on sort of the lengths that we'll go to protect the things that are important to us and what burden that places on us. It's one of those books where the plot is a lot less important than the actual story that happens there, which is very character-driven and is about the lives of these individual children. Throughout the book, we see many of them as they try to avoid the harsh reality that has set on for all of them, start to turn into different fantastical creatures as a way to sort of off shift the pain that they're feeling as humans. One of them turns into a cormorant, a bird that in the bird form they use to fly and find food for everyone. And as time goes on, they spend more and more time as that bird, leaving behind the pain of their human life. We see a lot of different things like that, and it's a reflection just on sort of what we will do in order to make sure our loved one survives. A little bit unique about this is normally in a survival story like this, we see characters lean into sort of more of the savage, the more brutal, violent side of humanity. And as part of this, it actually makes a mission statement to reject the violence that comes with that. Again, it's really all about the character's journey that goes through here. You may not know always what's happening, but you'll sure love reading it. Put on a Spanish guitar playlist and just enjoy it. See ya.
Yo, Minty Nation, my name is Badr Milligan, and I host the Shortbox Podcast, one of the longest-running weekly comic book talk shows in the industry, at least in audio form. I've now started posting videos and episodes on YouTube, so consider checking out the Shortbox Podcast on YouTube if you want more comic book content. Now, with that being said, I want to talk about my number one favorite comic book of 2024, and that goes to Dynamite's Space Ghost series, which is written by David Pepose and art by Jonathan Lau. This series has completely blown away any expectations I had going in. I think much like many people, I grew up watching the Hanna-Barbera Space Ghost cartoons with my dad. When I got a little older, I was watching Space Ghost coast-to-coast reruns really late at night, maybe when I shouldn't have. This new series from David Pepose and Jonathan Lau is a far cry from the original source material while still paying homage, but being unique and different on its own. It's weighty, it's somber, it's filled with great action, great adventure, and really tender character moments. This series is a reinvention of the character that truly puts him on par with any other superhero title on the shelf today. David Pepose has been absolutely stellar when it comes to guiding the ship every month with amazing plot lines, solid character moments, high-flying action. And if Jonathan Lau, who does the artwork, isn't on your radar already, I guarantee he absolutely will be after you pick up this book. I'll share a couple of pages here. But Jonathan Lau brings such incredible line work. He's got a knack for dynamic action, and he absolutely nails those tender character moments that I was talking about. Once again, Space Ghost from Dynamite, which is now collected in this pretty nice hardcover, is my favorite comic of 2024, and I highly recommend it if you're looking for something fresh, something fun, something a little different from your usual superhero comic book offering. Once again, my name is Badr Milligan of the Shortbox Podcast, and I want to say thanks to Omar and all the mentees out there for letting me talk about my favorite comic. Peace.
Omar and the folks at Near Mint Condition ask, what was your top read of 2024? Hello, Minties. This is Adam from A Fifth of Jack Gaming, where we end up covering comic books as well as Magic the Gathering and whatever nerdom that we feel like going down. So back on topic, thank you Omar and the folks over at Near Mint Condition for this awesome opportunity to find out what the best read of 2024 was for us. That's right, we ended up having an awesome read. So before I end up going over that way, a good book has many things. It drives you to want to read it more. Has awesome art. Has a great story. And most important, after you put it away, you keep on thinking about it. And that's where Murder Falcon by Daniel Warren Johnson and Mike Spicer. Like I said, this has the entire perfect combination going with it. I read this earlier in the year, and it just stayed rocking it over, and it's honestly the best read that we ended up having. It has some killer art. I'll slide it on over, and that's all I'm going to show. I don't want to break it too far down, because the less that you know, the better the story is going to end up being. So, it generally has the band getting back together, but there is more than meets the eye with that. There's a lot more development and more adventure that goes along with that story. But give it a shot. You go read it. It's Murder Falcon by Daniel Warren Johnson. It is A Fifth of Jack's #1 pick of 2024. Thank you, Mentees. Thank you, Omar. Thank you, everyone over at Near Mint Condition for this wonderful opportunity. And until next time, Fifth Jack, out.
Hey, y'all. Omar asked me to be a part of this, so yeah, what was my top read this year? There was a lot of great ones, especially I finally got to read a lot of books that I've been waiting on, like Trigun. I've been wanting to read this for decades. Then there were some new ones that I had no idea I'd fall in love with, just out of the blue, like Slain, the Horn God. This is some crazy stuff. Thank you again, Sonny. A chance to finally read all of Black Sad this year. That was a big one for me, because I only read like the first couple pages, like the first couple ones. Got a chance to finally read Fear Agent, one of Omar's favorite, and something I've heard nothing but great things. And, you know, the other fun thing is finally getting to read the first Savage Sword of Conan omnibus, because I had 2 through 8. So fun to finally jump on that. But what was my top read this year? Well, I'm going to be a little selfish and a little different. Bang, The Ballad of the Tiger. This one was my top read. I have published a couple books. I've always published a volume 1. This is the first volume 2 I've ever published. So just seeing that really makes my day. Also, I won't lie, having Omar's quote on the back made my day. Especially because no matter what, yeah, other companies have all the stuff. I was the first one to use him as a quote. But the thing that really kind of gets me, especially this time of year, a few years back, I got stuck working a 16-hour shift from 3 p.m. to 7 a.m. on Christmas. Then I had 8 hours off from going back and then had to come back for another 8-hour shift. And luckily with that job, as long as no one's around, I could draw. So I end up drawing some of the pages on here for this volume. So it's kind of surreal looking back, thinking about that time, up late at night working on pages, trying to stay awake, to now actually being able to hold the physical thing in my hand. So my top read this year, it's my book. And that's such a magical... I'm not going to lie. I love all these other books, and this might be one of the smallest ones, especially compared to this chunker, but end of the day, there's something very humbling and magical about saying my book was my top read. So thank you all. Happy holidays.
What's up, everybody? We are the TheCodeXStation, and we're going to give you our picks for our best reads of 2024. So let's kick this one off, starting with Sonny.
All right. Hey, everybody. For my top pick of the read of 2024, as much as I loved Wonder Woman, the Hikatea, my favorite read of 2024 was Hope by Ed Brubaker and Sean Phillips. It was a story that Uncle Gary had recommended that we read, so we read it and reviewed it on episode 125 of the Codex podcast. Spoiler, I gave it a 10 out of 10. I love the artwork. I truly love the story the most. It is different. It is more of a historical fiction drama. It taught me some things, even that I didn't realize that back then, what was going on around World War II. And one thing that was different, the story was about a regular man who was older. It wasn't somebody young with huge muscles, with all these powers. It was a regular man who was already towards the end of his life. So, Pulp, it's a quick read, and I said it's more of a drama, more of a historical fiction, and that was my favorite read of 2024.
What's up, guys? Jamie, J-Dub, with the TheCodeXStation. And my pick for best read of 2024 is another Ghost Machine book. It is Rook, Exodus. This went 6 issues. The first story I just finished, but Jeff Johns, Jason Freibach, and the art in this is just so beautiful. I can't talk more good about Ghost Machine. I'll just leave it at that. Everything that's coming out is simply amazing. Go check it out. My pick. You guys see it.
What's up? I'm Dan Kelly, and my pick for my favorite read from 2024 is the omnibus for Planetary. My wife got this for me for Christmas last year, and I read it this year, and once I started reading it, I just couldn't put it down. It was a fantastic story. The artwork was great. I love the way that it played with the different tropes for superheroes and for other genres of comics and kind of turned them on their head. Just a fantastic read from start to finish. So highly recommend you picking it up. Planetary Omnibus. As Sonny said, 10 out of 10. Highly recommend it.
All right. How y'all doing? I'm Uncle Gary from TheCodeXStation, and I'm going to go a little different route. I'm going to go a current ongoing title that I absolutely love, and it's the Ghost Machine title, Hyde Street. Now, as you see, I'm a big Twilight Zone fan. I love it, and this is Jeff Johns' homage to the Twilight Zone. And to whet your appetite, I'll show you Some pretty cool art there by Ivan Reis. But to show you that it is Twilight Zone, just listen to the introduction. There's a street just right around the corner, both familiar and unknown. A street branching off every small town square and cutting through every big city avenue. It is a place where the wicked and cruel are drawn to the crossroads of morality and madness, with the inevitable destination of not merely death, but something far worse. This is the street of men and monsters. It's a place we call Hyde Street. This book is awesome. Look, I got multiple covers. It's only 2 issues in, and this is already my book of the year. And you can get a little ash can of it. Pick up Hyde Street. It is amazing, as is every of one of these Ghost Machine titles. But wow, I love this book.
Hello, hi, I'm smerdp. Firstly, thank you, Omar, for inviting me to your channel and talk about the comics that I have enjoyed reading this year. Now, I review comics, I review omnibuses, and I review figures. So the comics that I have enjoyed most this year, and I picked three out of the number of things that I read. So firstly, I have Transformers. I tell you what, I picked up the first graphic novel probably 6 to 12 months ago, and I could not put it down. And then since then, I have been buying every issue I can get, and it is such a refreshing tale of these bots. They're on the run, they're low on energy, and anything happens. Main characters destroyed, ripped to pieces. Next up is Hello Darkness. Now, Hello Darkness is from Boom Studios. Reason I like this, it has lots of various little stories. Some continue in the next issue, some are ones off, and they leave you wanting more. And the horror, by the time I finish reading it, is, well, it is genuinely real. And then finally, Dazzler Omnibus. This classic tale, character-driven disco diva, is absolutely amazing. And once again, a book that I have not been able to put down from the classic early 80s. So there we go. There are my 3 reads of the year. I'm wishing you a very happy holidays. And for those that celebrate Christmas, a very Merry Christmas. Take care and embrace the geekiness. Goodbye.
Super duper Sean here. This is Power of Comics, rocking with Near Mint Condition for my favorite read of 2024. Let's get it, man. So my favorite read of 2024, Alexandra Tresse, Book of Midnight by Bujeti Tan. And oh my God, this series is thrilling. This series is horrifying. This series is crime drama all in one. It is a horror crime drama series that will have you on the edge of your seat. Now, Alexandra Tresse is what I like to call a supernatural cop, and she comes from a bloodline of them. Her dad was a supernatural cop. She also has 2 adopted brothers that are demigods, because they are descendants of the god of war. But there's nothing ancient about the weapons that they tote, because they carry 2 chrome 9mm facial features hidden behind a screen ghost face mask. And these brothers get busy in battle. Alexandra Tresse's choice of weapon is a unique dagger that she carries around. Alexandra Tresse is who you call when bodies pop up with abnormal bites that no animal could have done. Alexandra Tresse is who you call when bodies pop up and there's no skin or meat left. Alexandra Tresse is who you call when bodies pop up and there are a few extra organs where there shouldn't be an extra organ. Now, the story takes place in a city called Manila, and this city is infested with demons, infested with ghosts, and every creature of the night. So you have certain demon spawns, factions, and other demon spawns factions that war with each other. Alexandra Tresse and her family is there to keep the balance in Manila City, but we all know it's only so much that she can do. I'm your boy, super duper deuces.
Hey there, Minties. This is Taylor of TaylorTalksComics, also known as the NMC social media guy. Thank you guys for watching. Please subscribe to all the YouTubers that are on this video. The description's down below for all their channels. Help them out. Get their subscriber counts up. My channel, Taylor Talks Comics, I'll show off Marvel and DC stuff, so come for that maybe, but stay for the more independent and weirder stuff. I show off comics from the early 1900s to current present day that are from newspapers to self-published, independent, Europe, Japan, no matter. I love comics from every walk of life, every facet. So I appreciate that. My video, or my pick for this year, my favorite read of this year is Maple Terrace by Noah Van Sciver. This was put out by Uncivilized Books. It was originally published with 3 single issues and then compiled into this nice hardcover here this year. Noah Van Sciver is who I think is one of the best storytellers in comics today. This nice little handsome hardcover, like I said, covers 3 issues. It is a follow-up to his earlier story, One Dirty Tree, if you're familiar with that. But this tells the story of Noah when he's a little bit younger and going through the trials and tribulations as a kid growing up. And I love these kind of coming-of-age tales. In the first story, you'll see Noah encounters his friends with an issue of Spawn. So there's a lot of 90s nostalgia in here, too, if you're a big fan of that. Issue of Spawn, and he's got to read it because all his friends talk about how violent and awesome it is. So he finds a copy from his older brother, Ethan. He might know as a artist on Green Lantern in the past. And he finds it and actually accidentally rips it. So then he has to go find and retrieve this missing issue of Spawn to replace it for his brother. But there's also tales in here of him and his friend just like fighting with action figures and like arguing over how one of them is overpowered and never wins. Like these things, these stories of nostalgia that you remember as a kid, that seemed like the biggest deal in the world to you, but then now looking back on it, it's kind of funny to think about. Like Noah Van Sciver captures that perfectly. And like I said, he's one of the best storytellers from panel to panel. His stories always flow so wonderfully. And the cartooning, he's only getting better and better with age. But this is truly one of my favorite reads of the year. Maple Terrace by Noah Van Sciver. Like I said, pick it up from uncivilizedbooks.com and try it out. And Noah Van Sciver's got plenty of other comics and stuff too. I'll show off on my channel if you want to go subscribe to that. But thank you guys. Again, subscribe to all the YouTubers down below. We all work really hard to show off this medium that we love of comics. And it's not easy making this content a lot. So we'd all appreciate it. And thank you so much, Omar, for letting me show my face on your channel yet another time. Hopefully there'll be many more in the future. Everyone have a great new year.
This is Tik Tok Tina, and this is my favorite read for the year of 2024. I don't know if you've been under a rock, but if you haven't heard of Pearson, Beyond Journey's End, you're missing out big time. My wife describes this as the Wes Anderson of an adventure party or a D&D, or if Wes Anderson like developed a D&D. But let me sell it to you even better. If you like D&D, if you like an adventuring party, if you want to see both the conclusion of that party at the very beginning of a story and then see it continue further with a new party, this is your gig. But it's also about small moments in time, studies in character development, monsters, demons, and a great adventure. Not only coming to an end in the beginning of the story, but a new adventure with far more details of world building and exploration, all within the series. I absolutely love it because of the study of characters, because it's all about human connection and how an elf experiences that human connection with her party and those around her. Although she does have the same human emotions that we share, she only realizes it kind of as a flashback. And it's really telling just how hard and how awesome the human experience is. This series is so emotional and yet so quietly underappreciated in the best ways. I hands down, favorite read. And volume 12 is coming out soon, and I cannot wait.
Hey everybody, Rockin' Robbie here from Pop Culture Philosophers, home of the weekly comic book review, and major shout outs to the Uncanny Omar for inviting me on once again for his end of the year celebration where we show off some of our favorite books of the previous year. My pick for 2024 right now is going to be The One Hand and the Six Fingers. This is a wonderful graphic novel / trade paperback. It's a collection of two different stories, one written by Ram V, the other written by Dan Waters. Now, these are two of the absolute best writers in comics right now. Seriously. And these two series work individually, but they also work together. So The One Hand by Ram V with artwork by Lawrence Campbell, Lee Loughridge, by the way, and Aditya Bidikar round out the team on these books. Lee Loughridge's colors are absolutely spectacular. Aditya Bidikar proves why he's one of the best letterers in the business. But Ram V and Lawrence Campbell give us The One Hand, which is the story of a detective who is trying to solve the case of a serial killer that he's already caught twice. Right? So there's a cool mystery there. Then The Six Fingers is the other side of the story, and it's Dan Waters and Sumit Kumar who are telling the story of a dude who's never killed in his life, but then wakes up one day with the memory of having killed some people, right? So you got the detective story and you got the story from the perspective of the killer. But what's really cool is that both books work so perfectly well on their own, but when you read them together, there's a third narrative that unfolds, that only unfolds when you read both books back to back. And what's really cool is they didn't put the books out separately in trade paperback. The collection is both books together in the reading order that you need to really appreciate this book. I think it's innovative. I think it's challenging. I love the artwork. I love the setting of the story. It's futuristic. It's a neo-noir type thing. Absolutely a splendid book. And I can't think of anything else that came out contemporary this year that had this level of innovation, experimentation, and just straight up awesomeness. The One Hand and the Six Fingers, this is 10 comics in one binding for only $20. This is going to be the best bang for your buck this year. It's also going to be rewarding to you as a reader, especially upon future reads and rereads. When I was reading these series as they came out, they were astonishing. Reading them again all together like this provides a whole new level of layer, depth, subtext, and substance. Really top-notch work from Ram V, Dan Waters, and company, some of the best creators in the business. So Omar, thank you so much for letting me be spotlighted on your channel yet again. One of my favorite memories of 2024 was joining the Uncanny Omar and the panel to discuss our evergreen Marvel events. That was a super fun show. Hope to do more in the future. I'm Rockin' Robbie. Happy holidays, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year. Station, pop, pop, boom!
Oh, hi there. You just caught me finishing this great book, Lunar New Year Love Story. This could possibly be the best book that I've read all year. And why is it the best? Because it is a story that everybody can relate to about human emotions and especially love. The story follows a young girl named Valentina as she is kind of put off by love at a very early age due to a Valentine's Day incident. She thinks her family is cursed and that she'll never love again. And she's so desperate to get rid of these feelings of love that she makes a deal with St. Valentine. If he doesn't give her true love in the next year, or she doesn't find true love in the next year, St. Valentine can have her heart forever and she'll never love again. The author of this story is Jean Luen Yang, who you may know from Superman or American-Born Chinese. He is a fantastic author, one of my favorite modern writers, and he does such a masterful job of telling this story as well. It will touch you. It will make you feel things throughout this book. It is incredibly moving. And the art by Lu Yen Pham is also absolutely fantastic. She does such a great job with faces and poses, body language, and that makes all the difference in a story like this where it is all conversations and getting to know the inner workings of people through what they have to say. She does such a great job. I can't say enough about this artist and her incredible skill. But what I think I found the most remarkable about this book is how it tells the story of the Asian experience in North America. And being Asian myself and growing up in Canada, I can relate to some of this story. Now, my family's been in this country for many generations, so I'm not quite in the same boat as a direct descendant of a direct immigrant. But this is still a great story to learn about. And I know some of you are saying, well, I'm not Asian. This is not going to relate to me. I don't really care about this kind of story. But you know what? That's not the point. The point is to learn something. The point is to broaden your perception of people outside of your own circle. And I think this does a great job. Now, the main character is Vietnamese, and some of the other protagonists are Korean. And I am not either Vietnamese nor am I Korean, but I really enjoyed learning about the different traditions, especially surrounding Lunar New Year festivals. And boy, I just thought this was such a great book. I really recommend it. It's from one of my favorite comic book publishers, First Second Books. Lunar New Year Love Story by Jean Luen Yang and Lu Yin Pham. You can't go wrong with this. I really, really recommend it.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm BJ Kicks from the channel Comics Are Dope, and I'm here to take a quick break from all my packing and moving and whatnot to talk about one of my favorite books this year. Now, it's impossible to pick one favorite, and I tried to pick a different one because last year I did a music comic, but hey, what can I say? It's such a well-done comic. So this year, one of my favorite reads of 2024 was Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze. Jimi Hendrix Purple Haze is written by Mello Brown and DJ Ben Hameen, legendary DJ of the Combat Jack Show podcast. If you know, then you know. But anyway, this is Ben Hameen's first foray into comic writing, though he's done like television writing and stuff like that. I should also note that this book has art by Tom Mandrake. Yes, legendary DC artist Tom Mandrake. And colors by Justin Prokowicz. Listen, there is no job in this book that is not done exceptionally well. So this is a book, basically, I mean, obviously it's about Jimi Hendrix, but it's kind of like a fictionalized version of Jimi Hendrix. This is not your standard like biopic comic. This reimagines Jimi Hendrix as like a sort of revolutionary freedom fighting musician who travels across the cosmos. Oh yeah, he's intergalactic. So he's traveling to planets. He's on tour, kind of searching for something deeper within himself, searching for the next sound and next wave that he wants to be on. And while he's, kind of dissatisfied with the state of the music that he's been performing and, his fans kind of being stuck in and wanting to see an old version of him and stuff like that, he stumbles on a planet where basically the citizens of that planet are being taken advantage of, colonized in a way. And so he decides he's going to help these people stand up for themselves. And I thought it was dope. I thought the biggest thing or the coolest thing about this book is that it takes from Jimmy's real life experiences, some of his lyrics, some of his journals, to basically paint a picture that is not inaccurate. That's not like some like idealized version of Jimmy, but like basically just a different side of Jimi Hendrix than most people have seen. As someone who, is familiar with Jimi Hendrix's work and his sort of place in the black music pantheon and some of his work like doing background stuff for different soul and funk acts before, the Jimi Hendrix Experience and doing like, some of the things that we all know him for, like, the Star Spangled Banner and lighting guitars on fire and whatnot. So anyway, it's cool to kind of see him in a certain way, like reclaim his historical blackness. And then also, this is just a really cool sci-fi comic. I don't know. I'm shooting this on my phone, so I don't even know if you guys are actually seeing it well. Just know that this book is awesome. This is published by Titan Comics. Cover price on it is $29.99. I think it's still available everywhere right now, so definitely take a look at it. It's great. Definitely worth your buy for your Christmas shopping. I don't know when this video is coming out. Just know this is one of my favorite reads of 2024. And you should check it out. Peace.
Hello, Near Mint Condition. My name is Brent Cassina, back again another year for the best thing I read in 2024. And believe it or not, it is Batman Gotham After Midnight. Now, don't laugh, because I know this got bad reviews when it came out. But all collected together in a beautiful deluxe edition with oversized artwork from Kelly Jones, Steve Niles delivers the goods. I went in with low expectations because I know when I was in college when this was coming out, it's a 12-issue maxi series, that it got kind of middling reviews. No one had ever talked about it after that. You've never seen it collected since its initial run, and now it's got a beautiful 12-issue deluxe hardcover. So what is it about? It's Batman going up against Midnight, a new villain. And if you think of this as kind of a Batman Dark Shadows kind of storyline, like that 70s vampire soap opera or the terrible Johnny Depp movie, a little bit of camp, a whole lot of goth, a little bit of noir, and a whole lot of fun, then you will have a great time reading this book. I went in with super low expectations and came out in it being one of the most surprising reads of my 2024. I think, you know, it deserves a mention here because I'm sure a lot of people are going to rate stuff that came out. But Kelly Jones' artwork, beautiful designs, beautiful bat caves, beautiful bat computers. Like the bat computer is just this monstrosity of wires and monitors and bulbs, and it has all sorts of beautiful artwork. All the Batman villains are here, and this crazy new guy, Midnight. I mean, where else are you going to get psychedelic Batman images today in 2024? Kelly Jones has it here straight from 2007, I believe, 2008. And it's a whole lot of fun. So this is a deluxe edition you could probably still find out there. I think that's the other reason I wanted to bring it up. You know, the Batman the Dracula story that Kelly Jones delivered with Matt Wagner this year was great, but this one for me was the most surprising and most fun read I had in 2024. Check us out, BKsBullets on YouTube. We do a whole lot of comic book reviews and overviews of hardcovers, trade paperbacks, and old stories. So check us out over there, and we will see you guys next time in the funny pages. Thank you to Omar at Near Mint Condition.
Welcome back, true believers, to another Near Mint Condition Best Reads of the Year video. I'm the Bad Wolf, and this is BadWolfComics. For those of you that may not know about BadWolfComics, before we get into our Best Read of the Year, I just want to tell you a little bit about what makes us special. I started this channel in June of 2022 because I am a huge fan of custom dust jackets, fixing those spines that Marvel screws up, maybe putting a little better font color or a little pizzazz into my books. And I'm also a huge fan of custom omnibus, things that we don't normally see in the community. And I just felt like these customs weren't talked about enough. So I wanted to start a channel and address that and bring that to the community more. I have seen people touch on them here and there, but no one really got in depth about custom dust jackets. We also do custom omnibus, I do overviews, we do hauls, we do all sorts of things. But primarily what makes us stand out is our customs. So if you're into the custom dust jackets and you want to see more, definitely come see us at BadWolfComics. All right, now let's get to our Best Read of the Year. One book stood out among all the rest. It was a sleeper hit for me. I didn't even plan on getting it. I just happened to see it in the solicitations and it looked really good. I went ahead and picked it up, and it was by far my favorite read of the year. And for me, folks, that is Little Monsters. If you haven't read this, think Lord of the Flies meets vampires. It's a post-apocalyptic world where most of the humans have died. The elder vampires have been gone for many years. They left these kids in a section of the city that's basically sealed off from the outside world. So finally these kids start getting curious. And keep in mind, they've been alive for hundreds of years, so they're basically adult in children's bodies. But it was a great read. It is a black and white book with red accent. I'm not usually into that kind of art, but this was stellar. The story just gripped me. I read it cover to cover. Now in Bad Wolf Comics fashion, this copy is absolutely a custom dust jacket. I've got a full video on the overview and custom dust jacket and creation process for this jacket. If you're interested in seeing that, come see us at Bad Wolf Comics. Now here's our front and our spine. Spine looks a lot better than the original. And I'm a big fan of collected covers. But this is primarily what we do at Bad Wolf Comics, is we show off the custom dust jackets for these great books and great stories. But I cannot recommend this enough if you're into vampires or any kind of post-apocalyptic stories at all. This book is phenomenal and you'll love it. Jeff Lemire and Dustin Nguyen also did the series Descender / Ascender. So if you're a fan of that series, this might be something else you want to sink your teeth into. But it was a great read for me, and it definitely stood out as the best read of the year. So that's it for Bad Wolf Comics. But stick around, true believers. Near Mint Condition has more creators with their best reads of 2024. I can't wait to see what some of you folks have picked. It's been an honor to have been invited back, and I hope to see you all next year. Until next time, I am the Bad Wolf. This is Bad Wolf Comics. Thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next one.
This is Literature and Pictures, and a huge thanks to Omar for including me in his great annual Book of the Year review within this awesome YouTube community. My title of the year is actually 2 titles. But unlike other people here, you know who you are. I'm not cheating and giving you my top 3. Those 2 titles that I have here are actually 1 title, but they were released as 2 titles, but the collected edition includes both. To make a long story short, my book of the year is being released as a collected edition in December here this month. The One Hand and the Six Fingers. 2 titles combined into 1 story makes it 3 stories by 2 creative teams. Ram V is writing The One Hand and The Six Fingers are written by Dan Wallace. Art by Lawrence Campbell can be found in The One Hand, and Sumit Kumar is providing the art in The Six Fingers. Technically, again, those are 2 titles. Practically, they're not. You could read them separately and still get each of those stories, but to get the full picture, you have to read both. What I did is in singles, I started with The One Hand issue 1, then switched to The Six Fingers issue 1, went back to The One Hand issue 2, and so on, kind of alternating between 2 titles. I don't know how the collected edition will be mapped, but I hope it's going to be that way instead of having 2 separate stories, because I think you should read them as you go in parallel instead of just reading 1 through 5, and then the other 1 through 5 to get both 5-issue miniseries that lead up to a 10-issue maxi story. This is like the equivalent to a superhero crossover event put into independent creator-owned storytelling. A book without superheroes, set in the distant future, a sci-fi story that explores the age-old question, what is the purpose of life? And it gives the only right answer. The purpose of life is... Ramvi is giving classes on writing. You can find those on YouTube, but better show, not tell. So this is a Ramvi and Dan Waters masterclass on storytelling. This book is more about the concept and how well it is written, interconnected between those lines, and how different stories are created based on what issues you read and in what order you read them in, versus the story itself. The story itself is still great. It's not the greatest story ever, but what makes this book so special and my pick of the year is just the skill of writing that went into this. The skill to map, plot a story, and to execute perfectly on that concept. The One Hand and the Six Fingers, my book of the year 2024. This was Literature and Pictures. Over to the next book.
Hey everybody, welcome to Living the Line, and thank you Omar so much for having us. I'm Sean Robinson. I'm a cartoonist and publisher at Living the Line. It's a difficult thing as a publisher to pick best books of the year, because of course there's like 3 or 4 things on my list that would be things that we publish, but that doesn't really seem fair to me to be like, go buy Brandon's book, Surviving on Mars, or go buy Her Frankenstein, the greatest horror book of the past year. I'd say probably my favorite book that I read for pleasure this year, Yoshiharu Tsuge's newest collection from Drawn and Quarterly. They've been doing these historic collections of Tsuge's work, and this is the 4th in the series, and it gets to the point where he becomes a very, very interesting cartoonist who has lots of things to say and is not sure if he wants to say all of them. A very, very interesting collection of work, ably translated by the great Ryan Holmberg.
So I'm Brandon Graham. My newest book from Living the Line is Surviving on Mars. It's a autobiographical book of diary comics, and the book I picked for the book of the year is Adam Warren's new Empowered, which just came out this week, but has been a long build-up. This is the 12th volume over, I think it started in 2007, and it's just a very exceptionally well-crafted kind of science fiction take on superhero comics, which I'm normally not a big fan of, but it takes it in such a different direction than I expected, and it's very, very fun.
Is that the final volume in that one?
Yeah.
Hi, I'm Carson Gruba. I'm a cartoonist currently working on my third graphic novel, Bound. My book of the year is specifically issue number 6, but overall recommendation for series as well. Chad Beaulieu and Juliette DeWitt's The Re-Up. fascinating autobiography series of the year, and this particular issue's book of the year for me.
Well, thanks so much, Omar, for having us.
Hi everyone, Gio here from Manga Geekdom. Thank you to Near Mint Condition for allowing me to participate in one of these videos yet again. So my choice, one of my favorite reads of 2024 goes to Thunder 3. This is a manga published by Kodansha, and it is a lot of fun. It is very unorthodox compared to everything that's out there. It's an action series about these 3 young kids that sort of find themselves in the adventure of a lifetime. Without going over the details and spoiling things, they find themselves in an alternate Earth thanks to a PlayStation disc that, when played, opens a portal that allows them to venture into this new world. Now, the main protagonist has a younger sibling. This young girl walks in by mistake, and when she ventures into this new world, everybody treats these characters like anime manga characters, similar to how we would view comic strip characters if we would see them in real life. They would look very different than our perceived reality. So when she goes in there, we discover that this new Earth is in contact with aliens. These aliens are freakish looking, pretty monstrous, and they view this young girl as a threat, so they're going in after her to kidnap her, I guess, and experiment on her. So eventually the young boys find out, and they go off on this epic mission to save the young girl. I love the differences in art styles as you see the main cast in their cartoonish depictions and how they clash artistically in this hyper-realistic world that is sort of reminiscent of Gantz, the famous action sci-fi manga. If you like those sort of things, you'll be right at home with Thunder 3. The boys, they discover some scientific aspects of this world that may or may not lead them to develop superpowers of their own. So it gets crazy pretty fast. You're going to have to read on to find out, but I definitely recommend Thunder 3 from Kodansha.
Hello, nerds and nerdettes and minties from the Near Mint Condition YouTube channel. It is your fellow nerd from the Illuminerdi YouTube channel, and I'm here today to talk about my top read of 2024 as we quickly approach the new year of 2025. First and foremost, a quick thank you to Omar and the Near Mint Condition community for the invite and letting me partake in this collaborative project. It's always a blast to see what everyone else chooses as their read of the year, so I can also kind of add them to my reading log selfishly. But the title that I did choose is It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth by Zoe Thorogood and published by Image Comics. I did struggle to pick my read of the year because I had 2 titles that were competing for the first place spot, but the personal touch and the personal effect that this story had on me allowed it to overtake the other title and take that number 1 spot. So this was not released in 2024. It was actually released in 2022, won all kinds of awards in 2023, and most of the comic book community was talking about this title, other than me, I guess. But here I am finally reading it, and man, was it incredible. This is 100% curated by Zoe Thorogood from the ground up, so everything that you see between the front and back covers is her, whether it's paneling, art, writing, or lettering is 100% her, and that makes it 10 times more incredible. But Zoe Thorogood throughout this story is telling you about her life throughout a 6-month time period as she struggles with a lot of relatable factors like mental health, relationships, friendships, the impact that we have on the world, a lot of things that I think the mass public kind of struggles with, but she articulates it in a beautiful way. Throughout this entire book, you're going to have mixed media, from photographs to paintings to ballpoint pens to just straight up inks with colors, and it is so breathtaking the avenue that she went when it came to telling this story, and the risks and the ambition throughout this entire story. You can really tell she's a very much gifted individual and loves the medium of comic books and likes to play in that medium of comic books. And there's also a lot of inspiration from other legends of the craft, whether it's comic books or manga, that you really notice throughout her art and her storytelling and her paneling. So absolutely incredible story here. By the end of the story, I feel like it was very transformative for me as an individual, and I think it can have that impact on a lot of people that read it if you go into it with a very open mind. But it is so good. I think everyone should read this. I think a lot of people already have. I think I'm late to the party, but if you haven't read it, try and read It's Lonely at the Center of the Earth, because it is a beautiful, beautiful product and a very impactful comic book.
Hello everyone, I'm Bar, or some of you may know me as the Unstoppable Bar, and my favorite read of 2024 is X-23 The Omnibus. Now I have read All New Wolverine. It was actually my very first omnibus. So that really just made me want to get more into Laura's character and learn more about her and what makes her who she is. So for those who don't know, Laura is a clone of Wolverine. And in this book, we actually see how she was created in a lab and made to be a weapon, basically. I really connected with this story because I don't think that there's another comic that I've read this year that made me feel so many emotions, from anger to sadness to wanting to hug Laura so badly after reading this. And she just has such a tragic backstory. From all the comics that I've read in my life, this is probably the one that like kind of struck me the most. And I just think anyone, I mean, this is very first reader friendly. Anyone who's never read any X-23 or All New Wolverine, this is a really, really good place to start. It's very new reader friendly. And it basically collects a bunch of different stories from her very first miniseries to everything that basically happens to her, like all kinds of miniseries that happen up to, I think, maybe All New Wolverine. But yeah, this is a really, really good place to start with this character. So, and yeah, this is my favorite read of the year. Thank you so much.
Hey, Near Mint crew. Tyler here from The Comics Pals. Check us out on youtube.com/TheComicsPals. And I wanted to talk about my favorite book of 2024 that I read. So this is a book I read a long time ago, but I finally got a chance to read it in omnibus form this year in a great collection format. So Secret Six by Gail Simone, a whole bunch of people, Daly Gushim, Nicola Scott. This is just really good slice of life superhero stuff without the heroes. They're all villains. You get a good story about Bane having some pillow talk, or Deadshot being a single dad. It's really good. It's one of the funniest books I've ever read, and it's just like really good classic DC books. And I also want to give a quick shout out to, if you're like a monthly comics reader like myself, to Ultimates by Dennis Camp and Juan Frigeri. Do a little icon of a book up there. Check that out as well. Thank you for a great year, Near Mint crew. Omar, especially you, helped me out at Comic-Con. That was great. And I hope you have another one. Take care, guys.
Hi, Minties. This is Tyler from You Know Who's Expose. First off, thank you, Omar, for inviting. Hi, Future Tyler here. Happy 2025. I want to thank Omar too for inviting us, to partake in the favorite comic read of 2024 video. Yes, thank you, Omar. I had mostly read single issues digitally this year, so this is a single issue pick. And as much as I wanted it to be an X book, it is unfortunately not. My favorite read of 2024 is The Ultimates issue 4, written by Dennis Camp and drawn and colored by Phil Noto. I agree, it did not change in the next couple of weeks, and that is my pick too. So without going into spoilers, not only is the book well written and drawn, more on that later, the issue is structured uniquely in that every page is a 4-panel page running from top to bottom, and each row represents a snapshot in a specific point in time, and it presents a unique way to inform and re-inform readers as the story progresses regarding the Fantastic Four in this new Ultimate universe. Not only that, certain repetition in dialogue takes the same words, and use them in different contexts, which provided drastically different meaning. And in some cases, you could read all the dialogue and apply them to different panel on the same page, and it meant something different. As presented, you could read it page by page, and I urge you to do it the way my past self did on the first go, and then go and reread the issue row by row across the pages. That is, row 1 on page 1, and then row 1 on page 2, and then all the way to the end of the issue before coming back to row 2 on page 1, and so on. The brilliance of the writing presents itself when both ways work, and not only did they work exceedingly well either way. Structure aside, the story highlights how diabolical a certain character is, and how a slight change basically alters the trajectory of Ultimate Universe Marvel's first family. And all these would not have worked without Noto's art. The characters are expressive, even when only the eyes can be seen. The choice of certain shots to evoke certain imagery, the choice of certain colors to represent different period of time, and the gradual descent into darkness is accompanied by the gradual darkening of the colors. It all works, and works very, very well. And that is why this is our favorite read of 2024. And before we go, happy holidays, happy reading, and Tyler out.
Hello, Near Mint Condition fans. My name is Chris Balga. I am the co-host of Marvel Alliance, which you can watch every Thursday night at 9:10 Eastern Standard Time on the Geekverse Podcast YouTube channel, or you can listen to the audio version by searching for Marvel Alliance on your podcatcher of choice. I'm also the co-host of the OPB Weekly Buyer's Guide that you can watch every Saturday at 4 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on the Brave and the Boys YouTube channel. I want to thank Omar for inviting me to participate in this annual event. Now, like many of you, I have read plenty of collected editions this year, and it is never an easy choice to say which one is my favorite read of the year. So my selection is a series that I have read and promoted since issue number 1. But we didn't think we would ever get this in a deluxe hardcover format because the creators had frequently said it probably won't happen due to the huge cost to put out such a book, and if it did happen, it would be a very long time away. Well, they surprised us all this year when they released the first hardcover collected edition of this series here, Radiant Black. It is collecting the first 12 issues of the series coming from Image Comics in the Black Market narrative. The series was created and is still ongoing by Kyle Higgins and Marcelo Costa. Now, for those of you that have never read Radiant Black and want to know what it is, well, I'm going to give you a quick preview about it. So this series follows the story of Nathan Burnett, who just turned 30, and things are not going great. He's working and failing at 2 jobs. His credit card debt is piling up, and his only move is moving back home with his parents. But when Nathan discovers and unlocks the powers of the Cosmic Radiant, he's given the power to radically change his fortunes. There's just one problem. The powers do not belong to him, and he is not the only one who has the Radiant powers. The cosmic beings who created them want them back by any means necessary. Radiant Black led to the creation of the Massive Verse, which includes titles such as Rogue Sun, Radiant Red, Radiant Pink, Infernal Girl Red, The Dead Lucky, No One, and Cowl. The great thing about these titles is that even though they exist in the same universe, you don't have to read them all to enjoy the series. You can read just Radiant Black, you can read Radiant Black, No One, The Dead Lucky, and still enjoy what the series and what the universe holds at that point. So the story is so relatable to me because I really relate to the struggles that Nathan does go through in and out of the Radiant, in and out of costume. The supporting cast is really elevates the story, led by his best friend, Marshall, who helps Nathan find how to be a better superhero. And in these 12 issues, Kyle Higgins weaves a story that has some major twists that you're not going to see coming. I know I didn't. The art by Marcelo Costa and the team of colorists really brings amazing vibrancy to the characters, and the action sequence are amazingly detailed. What makes this collected edition so special is how packed it is with extras, such as every single variant cover that was produced in the first 12 issues, interviews with the team about how the series came about, the different designs of the characters, the development of the first trailer of the series, how the series was originally pitched as a streaming series, and so much more. So if you are a fan of Invincible and the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, this is the series for you. So whenever I am asked to recommend a book for people that are into superheroes, my answer has consistently been Radiant Black since 2021. Read this story. If you've never read it, pick this up. And if you have the opportunity, please pick up the Radiant Black Massive Edition, my selection for my best read of 2024. Thank you all, and stay radiant.
Hi, I'm Lars Pearson with Mad Norwegian Press, and my pick for 2024, I've kind of just taken the straight path to victory, as it were, and I've gone with the one that I think that for a lot of us was kind of what you might call a major arcana in terms of omnibuses that had not yet been released. And it's this bad boy. It is the Aquaman by Peter David omnibus. A book that, I think a lot of us treasure, even those of us who do not care anything about Aquaman. And I promise you, I don't. Aquaman was, a joke for the longest time. Peter was determined to not make him a joke. Reformatted him with the hook. And, what makes this series great is just great story by Peter David, great art from people like Jim Calafiore, whom I've worked with before, but I think is a wonderfully underrated artist. I mean, look at this cover. This cover. Jesus Christ. Absolutely fantastic. Absolutely fantastic. In typical Peter David fashion, it develops the characters. It's smart. It's funny. It's clever. It's surprising. It starts off with a separate book, The Atlantis Chronicles, builds from there. And it is, look, Aquaman will never get better than this. I mean, it just won't. I mean, this is proof that a character who otherwise you don't care about in the hands of the right artist and the right writer can just excel. The only downside to this, I think, is that, this is a staggeringly huge omnibus. Yes, I know that there's been ones this size, but it would have maybe been nicer if it had been broken into two. I understand the economic reasons why they didn't break it into two. I won't bore you with those details, but actually some friends of mine are scared off by the size of it because they're like, it won't be enjoyable for me to read. So there is that. Otherwise, my God, we have been salivating for this book for years and years and years, and finally it's here. And on a bigger point, I think we should maybe pause at the end of 2024 just to recognize how many books we've always wanted to be released have been released. I find that my purchases for next year are dropping precipitously because the publishers have put out tons of what I actually wanted. A waning of interest in your hobby is usually often a sign of suicide. And I don't think it's a sign of suicide on my part. It's just that I'm old and they've released so much of the stuff I want. But this was absolutely top of the list. A tremendous story, an ambitious writer, a clever writer, tremendous art. Cannot recommend it enough. And tons in this omnibus that was never collected before. They kept stopping short on the soft covers. So yeah, Aquaman by Peter David omnibus. We kept wishing for the day to be here, and finally it's here. So I hope you all have a good holiday for 2024, and we will see you soon in the new year.
Hello YouTube. Hello Minties. This is Lohit from Cupcakes Comic Reviews, and today I'm here to talk about my pick of the year for 2024. First of all, thanks to Omar and the fine folks at Near Mint Condition for giving us the opportunity to do that. Thank you, we're very grateful. And with that down, let's move on to the book. And by Mitra and by Crom, the biggest book of 2024 goes to Savage Sword of Conan by Jim Zub, Patrick Zurcher, and John Arcudi. And this is a great book. And this Rob Della Torre does most of the art on this, and Doug Braithwaite also is the fill-in artist, and Patrick Zurcher sketches his own thing, and it is brilliant and it is awesome. It is everything you wanted from a Savage Sword book. Again, this used to be printed at Marvel in the 70s in this whole oversized magazine format, But this is relaunched by Titan Comics in 2024 because they acquired the license rights to Conan, and it is everything you want from a Conan book. Look at that bronze-chested, muscly cover with the babe and the sword, and this is done by Joe Jusko, which is amazing. Of course, my copy is a signed copy, and that says Loeth, the Savage Sword is still sharp. It is signed by Jim Zub. Coincidentally, I met Jim Zub today, and he told me that there are 5 issues to this, and a hardcover is dropping pretty soon. Because this is a collected edition channel, I'm sure that you guys want to check this out. But please do. This is, again, it's black and white, and it's got super savage art. It's got amazing art. It also has mature content, because the regular book Conan books, which Jim Zub is doing, and which is also sketched by Doug Braithwaite and Rob Delatore, though that doesn't have so much nudity, and it has a little bit of violence, but not nudity. But this one goes all guns blazing. Look at this panel. There's a T-Rex fighting an elephant. What more do you want from a book? What more do you want? Nothing. This is the book you need. This is the book you want. Price point wise, it is 80 pages for just $6. That is value for money. Marvel and DC, I'm talking to you, but you know what I'm saying? You know, this is value for money. So not only does this have like Conan stories, but it also has Solomon Kane stories. What I did not know is Robert E. Howard has written many characters other than just Conan and Red Sonja and other characters. But he has written a plethora of characters, including Dark Agnes, Brissa, and Elborak, and Solomon Kane. And the Solomon Kane stories are primarily being written by Patrick Zurcher, who himself is an awesome artist. And his work is so sublime and so beautiful that it takes my breath away. And I became an instant Solomon Kane fan. The art is so crisp on this. There is a Solomon Kane movie also done by MJ Bassett. Check it out if you haven't. I think she's also doing the Red Sonja movie, which comes out pretty soon in theaters. So I'm a total big fan of the Howardverse now. It was probably the best thing I read in 2024. And there are 5 books, and these 5 books will be collected into a hardcover, as Jim Zub told me. So yeah, and if you get to meet Jim Zub on any con, he's a very nice person, a very decent person, you know. Talk to him. He'll give you movie recommendations. He'll give you comic book recommendations. He will give you music recommendations. And Jim Zub, 2024 has been the year of Zub, because Jim Zub, I mean, he exploded with this Conan stuff, and he brought Conan back to a lot of people who were like long-term fans like me. I used to read Savage Sword of Conan as a kid. And the thing with Conan is he transcends time. Whether you read him in the 70s, whether you read him in the 80s, or you're reading him in 2024, Conan is constant, right? So he's from the Sword and Sorcery times, and it's really good. What they're also doing is they're doing the crossover of all the characters I showed you. So there's going to be like a Justice League of Howardverse, and that's there are 5 issues to that as well. It's called Battle of the Blackstone. So I would recommend you check that out also. And if you don't, then you Stygian dogs, I'm coming for you. I am coming for you. Okay, with that down, yeah, please like and subscribe to Cupcakes Comics reviews. And we have a Facebook page. Actually, our Facebook page is super active. So, you know, please send in any questions you have about manga, anime, metal music, small towns in England called Wigan. And, you know, we'll be there to answer because we've got an expert for everything. So, you know, so hope to see you. And thanks again, Omar and Taylor and everybody to give us this opportunity. Thanks and take care. And keep reading Conan.
Hi, this is Bob Fish. Welcome to my library. My favorite graphic novels of the year were probably these 2 by Brecht Evans and Olivier Schrouwen, fellow Belgians. But when it comes to American comics, definitely those awesome books by Taschen They did a fabulous job in remastering these old classic comics by Jack Kirby, Stan Lee, and Steve Ditko. They published all these comics in their original colors, and they're just have never been as beautiful as this before. I'm really happy about Taschen doing this project, and I really love all these books. The best of the year.
I'm Larry from Larry's Library. My channel is all about sharing my love of reading and collecting comics and graphic novels, and sometimes I get into a few related topics. But I'm here today to talk about my favorite read of 2024, and that would be Fear Agent. And I have these in these giant hardcovers. It actually took 2, and they're big, to collect the entire saga. They're big and they're beautiful, and I love them. These giant hardcovers collect the entire series, the 32-issue run that ran from 2005 to 2014. And the whole thing is written by fan favorite Rick Remender, and the art is mostly by Jerome Opeña and Tony Moore. There are some other people involved, but that's the 2 main ones, and they are both terrific. This is a sci-fi epic that involves an alien invasion. The characters are great. The story is fantastic. There are so many twists and turns, you are not going to guess what happens. And it is a real page-turner. Just really had a good time with this. And as great as the story was, I gotta say, the art was the real pull for me on this one. It has this very retro science fiction look to it. From the designs of the costumes and the spaceships, everything has this sort of pulp sci-fi aesthetic going for it. The robots, the creatures, everything has that look, and it's just awesome. I really, really love this. And if you didn't catch it the first time it came out in singles or trades or what have you, this thing it's been printed many times. It's still in print now in various forms, including these big giant hardcovers. And I think this is the way to go. And they do look great on the shelf. I mean, look at these spines. And as fun as it is, the alien invasion, the spaceships, the wild retro futurism, all that stuff is great. But the story actually has more layers to it than you would imagine, and it sort of sneaks up on you. And that's what I've found with all of the Rick Remender stuff I've read, and it makes for a deeper experience than you would imagine just with a sci-fi pulp adventure. And so that is why it is certainly my favorite read of 2024.
Hi, it's Mike here at World's Comic Shop in Berlin. Thank you to Omar at Near Mint Condition for inviting us to talk about comics and to talk about our favorite comics of the year, which is Tom King's Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow, the deluxe edition. There was a paperback last year or the year before. And the reason why I love it so much is the art, the story, and it gave me lots and lots of feels. I'm a big Tom King fan, as everyone knows here. They want me to shut up talking about Tom King all the time. I would love to see this maybe one day in an absolute edition, even bigger. It's one of the only books that truly deserves it. Came out of nowhere. I wasn't expecting to enjoy it so much. And yeah, I wish more people would read this. And there's a movie coming soon, God knows when, and I'm sure it won't be as good as this. As anyone who will know who's watched our social media channels, one of my favorite things on earth are the spines of omnibuses. And I have declared this my favorite spine, Aquaman by Peter David, as spine of the year. Woo! And you may wonder why. I actually haven't read inside, but that's not the point. It's about the spine. You may see that we have Aquaman up here. This is the reason why I love it so much. And he's looking very 90s with his long hair and his beard. Very beautiful. As you go down, there's just a lot of really nice fishes swimming around, just living their lives underwater with Aquaman as their friend. I think it's really cute and looks better on the shelf than a lot of maybe not boring covers, but yeah, it's not just black with the logo of the character. I'd love to see this on my shelf. I probably wouldn't even read it. I think it's a great spine.
Hey pals, minties, and comic book fans all over YouTube. I'm Sean from the Comics Pals, and I'm honored to be a part of this video celebrating and honoring the best comics of 2024. My selection for greatest comic of 2024 is actually The Ultimates #4, written by Dennis Camp with art by Phil Noto. For those of you who are unaware, the Ultimates line was relaunched by Marvel this year, and this has been the crowning jewel of that relaunch so far. Basically, in this world, the Ultimates are a team of terrorists who are fighting back against the dominant culture which exists to suppress superheroics so that evil can win. And this particular issue focuses on this universe's Doctor Doom and his tragic origin. And he's actually Reed Richards. If that doesn't make any sense to you, I encourage you to go to youtube.com/thecomicspals and watch our videos reviewing this issue and all the rest of the issues of the Ultimates, which we do every single week on our YouTube channel. Thank you so much for watching. Thank you for watching channels like this one and channels like mine, the Comics Pals, and we appreciate you so much. We will see you all in 2025. Happy holidays.
Hey guys, this is Dominic from the Comic Book Report YouTube channel over here on Near Mint Condition, sharing my favorite comic book read of 2024. So I interpreted this prompt to mean any book I read in 2024, not necessarily what came out in 2024. So to that end, drum roll please, I'm going to be talking about Venom by Donny Cates and Ryan Stegman. To me, this was the perfect read this year. I'm a huge Marvel Comics fan in general, and I haven't read something like this in quite some time. This omnibus edition not only gives us the full run on the Venom title by Donny Cates, Ryan Stegman, and others, but we also get the event issues. We don't have all the tie-ins, there's separate omnibuses for those, but we get all the major event issues for both Absolute Carnage and King in Black. I can't speak highly enough about this omnibus. I absolutely loved it. The art throughout, I'm kind of going to do a spread for you to see what I'm talking about as far as the art goes. But yeah, this run was just amazing. I think it was super great for new readers and longtime Venom fans as well. I think that there's enough for both parties. But yeah, I thoroughly enjoyed it. I had a blast. This was on my wish list for some time to get to. And when I read it earlier this year, I had an inkling this was going to be my favorite read of the year. And here we are. I'm not disappointed. Thank you so much to Omar and everyone over at Near Mint Condition for inviting me onto the channel again. It's an honor. And yeah, if anyone's looking for my channel, I do a lot of comic book reviews, unboxings, different comic book list videos, miscellany, things like that. I'm more of a looking at the book kind of channel and doing some kind of analysis, less of my talking head. But here I am for the course of this video. But anyway, thanks again, guys. Everyone, have a good new year.
What's going on, Minties? I'm Paperback Dan, and today I'm here to talk to you about my favorite read of 2024. But first, I want to give a huge shout out to Omar and his team over at Near Mint Condition for doing this and for inviting me back. I appreciate it immensely. Now, on my channel, I try to put an emphasis on like non-Big Two comics. I love Marvel and DC, but I also love the other stuff, and I don't see enough people talking about them, so I've kind of taken it upon myself. And in that vein, my favorite read, the book that I had the hardest time putting down this year, is X-O Manowar by Robert Venditti. And I've read some of this before. I discovered it back in like 2014 and read the first 10 or 12 issues or so. And I loved it then. And like at the time, I was telling all three people that would listen that Valiant might be my favorite publisher. And now we're here in 2024, and I love it just as much, if not more, as I did then. Because there was a lot of new material in this book for me. I only read the first 10 to 12 issues, like I said, and this one has the first 18 in it. This is the perfect jumping on point. This is the like the start of like what kicked off the 2012 reboot. So all the 90s stuff that you might have been familiar with, none of it matters. This is where you can start, and it's awesome. I always recommend this whenever I get the chance. So here I am. And so the elevator pitch for this book is basically, I saw someone say, it's like Conan the Barbarian if he found an Iron Man suit. And I mean, personally, I think this suit's cooler than Iron Man, but whatever. But yeah, so our main character gets abducted by aliens, comes across this power armor, uses it to escape, and then comes home to Earth to find that 1600 years have passed, and now he's struggling to cope with the loss of his home. And I don't know, I think it's really good. I always recommend it whenever I get the chance. And as you can see behind me, I have a bunch of the other Valiant books as part of that line. And like, there was a couple of them that could have been my choice for this, but I had to pick EXO. Robert Venditti, it was his first ongoing, which, what a debut. And I can't recommend it enough. So I hope you check it out. I hope everyone has a fantastic new year. I'm excited for 2025. And I'll see you guys around.
Hi, it's me, Max. I do music things. So my pick is Miles Davis and the Search for the Sound, which I read this year, even though it came out last year. Let's look at some of the art. It's basically a graphic novel version of Miles Davis' autobiography. Even if you're not into jazz, it's very good. It's a very good story. So yeah, thanks Omar for having me, and go check it out. See you next time.
Hey everybody, J-Man here. I want to thank the people at Near Mint Condition for giving me the opportunity to talk about my channel really quickly. I basically talk about movies and comic books, the usual geek stuff. And we do comic book runs. So we just did Frank Miller's entire run of Daredevil. We just covered Jack Kirby and Stan Lee's entire 108 issues of Fantastic Four, the first 108 issues. We're covering Avengers right now. And every Monday we do a Legion of Superheroes live stream. We've got over 70 episodes of Legion of Superheroes. We're going through every single appearance in order. So check us out if you like that kind of thing. My favorite thing that's come out this year is Rob Liefeld's Last Blood. I know Rob Liefeld. No, I hate him. The feet and all that stuff. Look, I'm a fan of Rob Liefeld. I was there for X-Force #1, the beginning. I do have, of course, a Deadpool and a First Cable. Love the New Mutant stuff, but really, his Extreme Universe stuff has just been so cool to me. This is the conclusion of all of the Extreme Universe characters. So we're talking like Brigade, Bloodstrike, Prophet, of course, all those characters. There won't be Youngblood. Youngblood is relaunching. But yeah, this is just the final sort of conclusion of all of that great stuff that he started up. And I know it might not be for everybody, and I know everyone's going to say Transformers, and I know everyone's going to say probably like, G.I. Joe, stuff like that is going to be the best of the year. But I thought I'd go a little bit different and give everybody a good taste of the Rob Liefeld Last Blood stuff. It's great. The art is fantastic. It's available through his actual Whatnot store, I believe. I'm not sure if it's out in comic shops. But the other thing I also loved was Deadpool Team Up, which is also another Rob Liefeld. That's the conclusion of Deadpool's story with Rob Liefeld. So that's got Dragon Lord in it, and it's got Chris Star in it, which is so cool. So big fan of Rob Liefeld. I'm really loving all the stuff that he's been putting out. So that's it, everybody. Thanks so much. Until next time.
What's going on, Minties? Mitch here from the OmniBuddy channel. Thank you, Omar and Near Mint Condition, for doing this end of the year video and getting all of us YouTubers, people out there collaborating and sharing some amazing books that we have come across. So my book this year was one of my absolute favorites over the past few years. And not only is it an awesome story with amazing art, but it also has one of the coolest binds around, and the book itself is absolutely gorgeous. What am I actually talking about? I am talking about Frontier. So you know what? Let's get into it.
This is the slipcase edition of Frontier by Guillaume Singelin. It contains 200 pages, and I must say these are some of the coolest, well-done end sheets I've seen around. I love these 3D cutaways of the spaceships and the actual characters themselves. Absolutely gorgeous. The pages themselves are matte finish and really great quality with really nice sewn binding. And on top of all that, you have a beautifully sewn in silver ribbon bookmark. And to top it all off, you have the silver gilding on the page edges, along with those signature magnetic press curved corners. So this sci-fi epic, and I'm going to call it an epic because it is spanning and it is super cool. It follows what happens when us as people reach that inevitability of our Hunger for resources eventually will strip the earth dry. This story picks up when our technology finally gets to that point where we can reach the stars and really exploit those materials in a new frontier. This story follows 3 different characters: Jisoo, a scientist and kind of a developer of engines and rockets. We have Kamina, who is a mercenary, eventually is missing an arm and is just kind of battle hardened. And then you have Alex, who is an asteroid miner and was born in space and has never been to Earth. So you really follow these 3 individual stories as they're living their individual lives, each really with their own dreams and aspirations, and are really trying to reach for, pardon the pun, the stars. And as you're reading these stories, eventually, obviously, those paths really begin to cross. And as they pursue their dreams, they really begin to change course as they learn new things about the worlds around them and what their place in these worlds really are. And if they can really, truly actually make a difference, or if they're just going to be living this mundane life without affecting any real change for humanity. There's so much heart in this story, and the characters are deep, and they all have great motivations to go along with them. And what's great is, like any real good character out there, their characters change, they develop, they become new characters, and their motivations, their dreams, their aspirations all begin to change because of their surroundings and because of their circumstances, and because they figure out what they actually truly want out of life. I absolutely adore this book, from the art to the story to the characters to Goku the monkey. Everything is just top notch, is so well done. And I do love that this book is actually very clean. It's not explicit in really any ways. So it does make it very accessible for the younger audiences. I don't think that anyone, probably in tweens or under, would really appreciate what this book is trying to discuss. But I think teens and up can all appreciate this book.
So yeah, that's a quick look at Frontier. If you're interested in hearing more about it, I have a full-length video of this on my channel, and I'm always reviewing mostly indie books that are out there from smaller publishers, or really just non-big 2 publishers, because I really feel like there's a lot of stories that deserve a lot of attention, and they don't get near enough. So if you're interested in that, make sure to check out my channel. All right, on to the next one.
Hello, I am DBZALLSTAR, the host of the podcast, where I talk with friends about the comics that we've been reading and enjoying lately, plus occasional solo episodes and creator interviews, available on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and hopefully wherever you get your podcasts. Normally available in that audio-only realm, but it's been an honour to be invited onto the Indie Solicit streams here on Nearmint Condition for the past few months in the video realm. And a massive thank you for inviting me onto this Best of 2024 video. My pick, which I don't have physically with me, but there will be an image on the screen, is Ultimate X-Men from this year by Peach Momoko, which started in March. It's almost a dozen issues out already, and it's maybe one of the most surprising series of the year, and it's just blown me away. I was already in love with Momoko's artwork through her work on Demon Days and series like that, with the very manga-influenced, wispy, gorgeous, rich, painted style that just gives us such a sense of wonder and magic, especially, which I think really works nicely for the series, where it has been a mystery unfolding over the issues. It's a slow burn, but it's not boring or dragged out. It's been incredibly compelling getting to know these completely new characters, or at least completely new versions of them, and seeing Momoko reimagine them, but still within the confines of this new universe rather than just on our own thing with Demon Days. It's been one of the most just visually exciting and compelling books that I have read this year, and I really hope that you go check it out if you haven't already. The first trade is out now, and thank you again for the invite. Remember, Joe Talks Comics, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and more. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Dan from Comics with Dan. I like to do reviews of comics, in particular indie comics that help promote smaller publishers and creators, but I'll dip into the occasional DC and Marvel book as well. You can find me every Monday night on my new stream called Monday Night Comics. My favorite thing that I read in 2024 was a book from Boom Studios called The Displaced. I collected it in single issues. It was a 5-issue miniseries. It was written by Ed Brisson. The art was done by Luca Casalanguida. The colors done by D. Cuniff, and the letters done by Hassan Otsmane Elhau. This is the story of how the city of Oshawa, Ontario disappeared overnight. The few people that were citizens of Oshawa, that were outside of Oshawa at the time of its disappearance, they remained, but everyone started forgetting that they existed, or acting like they didn't exist at all. It was really great to see the creative team explore how these individuals reacted to this scenario and how, people as a whole respond to tragedy in different ways. It was really well done. The art was beautiful. The writing was extremely well done. It was awesome just to pick this up each month during the 5-issue series. You'll see reviews for great books like this and more on Comics with Dan. And if you want to see the collected editions of these books, make sure you look to the home of collected editions, Near Mint Condition.
Hey, everybody. We are the Donovan Bandits. I'm Oren.
I'm Mike.
I'm Joe. And these are the things we read this year. I'm the guy who reads nothing from past 1993. So I was a big John Sable Freelance fan. I knew Marv Wolfman had done a pickup series from it a few years later for First. I didn't know what to think of it. I got a bunch of these in the dollar bins throughout the year. Phenomenal series. Continues what Mike Grell was doing. Variety of different artists, but it's very well done. You could pick up each individual comic and not know what happened in the previous one. So if you see these cheap, I recommend checking them out. You're going to have a lot of fun reading them.
Hey, everybody. I'm the guy who reads some modern stuff, but way later than everybody else has read them. So my big read for this year was Wonder Woman Historia, which everybody has already read, and it's gotten all the awards. But I first read it this year, and like everybody else, I was blown away. Kelly Sue DeConnick telling the origins of the Amazon, very Vertigo, I would say. The art by Phil Jimenez and Gene Ha and Nicholas Scott is just phenomenal. The layouts are insane, and I just enjoyed the hell out of it. And great read, and my favorite of the year.
Hey, and I'm the guy that reads a little bit of everything, both new, old, and everything in between. My most interesting read, or my favorite read for this year, is on digital. So I have nothing to hold up right now, but you can go look for it your damn self. And that is basically everything in the Ghost Machine world, created by Jeff Johns over at Image. That includes everything from Junkyard Joe, Geiger, and Redcoat, and beyond. He's created a new world of comics, not hampered down with years of history. It's all new characters that they own themselves, and they've created a really interesting, fun niche for themselves. If you haven't already done so, I highly recommend you checking it out.
Hello, Minties. How are you? This is JP Sari Kolia from JP Sari Reviews, and 2024 was a fantastic year for sure. It was a great year as a comic book reader, as a comic book collector. I got the opportunity to grab a lot of books and collections. I read a lot of stuff physically, digitally. It was great. To be honest with you, it's hard for me to find the perfect story this year because there were so many. I also went back to so many writers and some old stories that I read in the past that I wasn't a fan back then. And I had the opportunity to read it now with a new perspective. And actually, I enjoy it more now. And I would say one of those writers was Rick Remender. But unfortunately, I don't have anything with me. I'm in the process of moving, so I don't have any of the books in my collection. Everything has been put away. However, if there was one thing that this year was amazing that I was so happy to have, and it just came not long ago, it was the DC versus Marvel Omnibus. And to be honest, the reason why I love this book so much and this release this year is because it reminds me of the reason why I am a comic book fan. I love this character since I was a kid. Many of the stories I've read over the years, they're not really great stories. Some are classic stories, but two of the worlds that I love the most collided here through this book. Of course, the collection of the stories. You have people like Russ Andrew, John Buscema, Jose Luis Garcia Lopez, Walter Simonson, Barry Kingston, John Romita Jr., John Byrne, Mark Bagley, Daryl Banks, Ron Lim, Scott McDaniel, Graham Nolan, Dan Jurgens, Steve Rude, Eduardo Barreto, Neil Adams, John Romita Sr., so on and so on. The Dick Giordano. There's, you know, like, and not only that, that's just as the artists. That doesn't count the writers. This is the reason, again, why I am a comic book fan. 2024 has been a fantastic ride for sure. I love every minute of it, and I'm hoping and praying for 2025 to be the same, not only for me, but also for all of you, for all the family here in Near Mint Condition, and for every person who watches this video. So my friends, God bless. See you around. Bye-bye.
Hey Minties, Jake here from the Brave and the Boys, and I want to thank Omar and the entire Near Mint community for letting me be a part of this amazing video. I am honored to be in a video with all of you other amazing creators because I know how much work it takes to create content, even if it's about something we love, like comics. So I read a lot of books in 2024, but the book that had the most profound impact on me was Gotham Central by Ed Brubaker and Greg Rucka. This tells the story of the police officers in Gotham City who have to go up against Batman's litany of rogues, as well as serial killers and all the crime that happens in Gotham, sometimes at odds with Batman himself, because Batman is almost a force of nature in this book. But what makes this book so incredible are the characters they write, and it made me fall in love with Renee Montoya more than I've already fallen in love with her, but her storyline with Two-Face was heartbreaking, and the way she's outed from her family, it was just a heartbreaking story to read. This is an incredible story. If you love cop shows, you'll love it. It's like a cop show in the DC universe, and I cannot believe they could have made a Gotham TV show based off of this, and they went the route that they did. I want to thank you all so much for being amazing. Keep reading and stay brave.
Hello, Minties. I'm Lobster. I hope you all had a wonderful year, and are going to have an even better year ahead. It's that time of year again where we pick our book of the year. And my book of the year is Batman Year. No, that's not quite right, is it? Yeah, that is true, but no. Yes, she did, yeah. And yes, why haven't we had one yet? My book of the year is Blackwater Lilies. This was a fantastic surprise for me. It was a complete cover buy and just a fantastic read. It just caught me completely by shock. It's actually an adaptation by a novel by Michel Boussy. It is adapted by Fred Duval and drawn and coloured by Didier Cassegrain. It is published by Magnetic Press. See the round corners. And it follows the lives of 3 women, all of different ages, in the little village of Giverny in Normandy, France, as they try to escape the town that is the village that is famous for Monet painting his Blackwater Lilies. The lives of all these 3 women are hit with murder, and as there's a detective from Paris, 2 detectives from Paris that come in and try and find out what links these murders and why are all these women linked to this murder. It's an absolutely fantastic read with an incredible ending that made me very emotional indeed. It is about love, obsession, and undying, unrequited love. And the ending nearly made me cry, honestly. It really nearly made me cry. So that is my book of the year. I wish you all a Nadolig Llawen, Merry Christmas, Feliz Navidad, and Viva Peru y Gales!
Hey everyone, Amazing Amanda here. If you're not familiar with me, you can find me on Reels Talks every Wednesday at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Also sometimes on Old Reader, New Reader, and also doing comic book reviews here on Near Mint Condition. And today I am here to tell you about my favorite read of the year. And it should not come as any surprise to anyone who watches the channel regularly, especially if you watch Reels Talk, but my favorite book and read of the year is Dying Inside. It is written by Hannah Klein, Pete Wentz, and the art is by Lisa Sturl. And for those who are not familiar with this book, it came from Vault Comics, and essentially it is about a young girl named Ash who is living to die, dying to live. She is a deeply depressed, sardonic young individual who idolizes Elliott Smith to the point where she wants to follow in his footsteps, if you will. But then a series of magical events take place that lead her to Liv, which is a young, bubbly witch, and together they are trying to figure out how to save Ash's life, and in the midst, become very good friends. It's a beautiful tale of female friendship and has a lot of twists and turns in it. It's a great book about mental health, so if you have a teenager or you yourself are struggling, this is a great read just to see that perspective and understand. So definitely recommend it. Loved it so much, I dragged Omar all the way out to LA to have this copy signed and also to get to interview the creators. And I love it so much that I have this deluxe edition that I pre-ordered from Vault Comic. Is their glitter edition. It's very beautiful. I highly recommend everyone getting a copy of this if you haven't. And Omar was kind enough to go to New York Comic Con this year, and while he was interviewing Hannah Klein and also the ladies from Daisy Grenade, which is the actual live band that is featured here in the comic book, was kind enough to get them to sign this copy for me. This is the Daisy Grenade cover. Danny and Keaton are the two ladies from Daisy Grenade. Great band. If you haven't checked them out, I highly recommend you do so. I've seen them live a number of times. And yeah, and then of course I also have the copy that we got that Vault so kindly sent to us as our review copy. So thank you again to Vault for sending that to us. Really appreciate it. And yeah, dying inside. Please check this out. I beg of you. It is fantastic.
Hey everyone, this is Max. I'm the owner of Cheap Graphic Novels here on Near Mint Condition to talk about some of my favorite reads of 2024. I'm actually in the middle of moving right now, so I don't have very many books to actually hold up and show, but talk about a few things. One, Once and Future I read this year. Kieran Gillen, Dan Mora from Boom, 30-issue series having to do with Arthurian legend, but it is one of my favorite things I've ever read. Probably, I literally could not put it down. I shotgunned the 30 issues mostly in one night, and then I finished the next morning. I probably don't have to tell anyone how great Dan Mora is. It is stunningly beautiful and just an intricate but still easy enough to understand and not too much heavy lifting story by Kieran Gillen. I love Kieran Gillen as a writer. He has more, intellectual stories that kind of can take a little bit more legwork, and that's great. This one just was a very quick read. Highly recommend it to everyone. I've been recommending it all around. I'm also going to talk about a DC book and a Marvel book. So for DC, I'm going to talk about a book that really surprised me. Honestly, the only reason I read it was because they released it in hardcover, and I'm a sucker for that. And I'll think, well, it's in hardcover, so it's got to be good, right? And I have only the most recent volume here next to me, and that is Poison Ivy by G. Willow Wilson and mostly Marcio Takara. I really never thought that I would care about a Poison Ivy book, yet here I am. Actually, this is volume 3, not even the most recent volume. I think volume 4 goes up to issue 24, and so I'm 24 issues deep on a Poison Ivy series and loving it. It's so good. The art is incredible. If you're like me and thought you wouldn't care about reading a Poison Ivy book, just try it out. Honestly, it's an easy comparison because it's both plant-based characters, and I'm not going to put it on the level of Alan Moore's Swamp Thing, but definitely reminiscent, playing with some of the similar ideas. And then for Marvel, I want to talk about something real quick that I'm probably going to get flack for, but I don't care because I think it was very good and very unfairly maligned, and it ended this year. So huge shout out to Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man run. Thought it was very good. I love Zeb Wells as a writer. He's a great fit for the character. He's funny. It's heartfelt. Had the best John Romita Jr. art we've seen in a very long time. Incredible art from Ed McGuinness and a ton of others. If you are someone who has not read it because you see other people saying it's not good, just know that there are people out there like me that think it's fantastic. And not that my opinion on this should mean more than other people, but I've been reading Amazing Spider-Man for 24 years. So I am very familiar. I've read hundreds and hundreds of issues on a monthly basis, and it is far from, I mean, saying it's far from the worst Amazing Spider-Man has been, it kind of implies that I think it's bad, and I don't. I think it is very good. It's my favorite of the runs that have come post Dan Slott, who is the king for me for Amazing Spider-Man, especially, well, for the modern era, let's say. So that's it. Once and Future, Poison Ivy, Zeb Wells' Amazing Spider-Man. Read them.
Hi, everyone. This is Ian from Circuit 42. Before I get started, I want to say thank you to Omar and Near Mint Condition for allowing me to be part of the end of the year video. With that, before I talk about not my favorite graphic novel of the year, but my most underrated graphic novel of the past year. So Circuit 42 is a podcast. We interview different comic book creators, different celebrities, talk about all things nerdy. And some of the guests we've had comic creators like Tim Seeley, Fabian Nicieza, Mike Diodato, and the show that I'm most proud of, the interview with the X-Men the Animated Series special, as we talked to Eric Lewald, Julie Lewald, Larry Houston, and Ron Wasserman. So, for the most underrated graphic novel, the collected edition, whatever you want to call it, floppy book that I've read this year, that would have to be Storm Blowback by Ann Nocenti, Sid Kotian, Geraldo Borges, and Andrew Dahlhaus. This is a fantastic comic by Ann Nocenti, an iconic and classic creator, who not only is a fantastic writer in the history of the X-Men, but editor as well. She was the editor in charge of much of the classic Claremont run from the 1980s. Now, with that, for those who out there who are either already big fans of X-Men or became fans through recent media like X-Men 97, this is a great comic book. It delves into the classic punk Mohawk Storm, and is just a really good book, not only for old readers, but new readers as well. With that, once again, have a wonderful night. Thank you again. Have a happy holiday, and just have a great one.
Oh my god, I get to do this again! Oh my god, I'm super excited! Woo, woo, woo! What's good, Near Mint Condition family? It is Day here from Omnination Comics. Shout out to Omar and crew for giving your boy a chance to come on one more again and share my favorite comic book read of the year. You know, I'm a huge fan of comic books that have stories that will meet you right where you are. And that story for me this year would definitely be Superman War World Saga. This story is by Philip Kennedy Johnson and artwork by Daniel Sampere and Riccardo Federici. I hope I said his name right. Love this story so much. So Superman hears this call to go to the planet War World and rescue this human race. By the way, the planet War World is an enslaved planet who is ruled by this brutal villain named Mongol, who has been part of Superman's history for a long time. I mean, it's like he's in this Moses-like position, right? Where he's going to this planet to free these descendants of Krypton under the evil rule of Mongol. It's very terrifying. Philip Kennedy Johnson puts Superman through crap through this story. I mean, first of all, he's very limited too. Superman has no superpowers. There is no super strength. There is no freezing nothing. There is no laser beam eye. There is nothing. And that's where Superman on this planet had to learn to adapt. And that's where we get that gladiator Superman that we all talk about. Now, the people of War World thinks that Mongol is their hero, which is insane. But when Superman comes in, he shows them this is what hope and compassion looks like. And I think that's the point of this whole story that Philip Kennedy Johnson was trying to capture, is the essence of Superman, which is hope and also compassion. And even through all the failures and mishaps that Superman goes through throughout this whole story arc, it really is inspiring to me to see him play the perseverance game, even while learning how to adapt and become this great gladiator. It's just amazing that at the end of the day, he want to make sure that all these people are taken care of and delivered from this oppression. As a person this year who has been suffering with oppression and depression, it's inspiring to me that a fictional character like this can teach me to keep going. When you keep persevering and fighting through it all, you can make it. There is always hope. And I love that about this story. I'm just always inspired by this. Have y'all read this? Please go get this. This is amazing. Thank y'all so much for having me. This book is super inspiring. Go get it if you don't have it. Deuces.
Oh, well, those boom tubes don't get any easier. Welcome once again to In the Library of Graphic Literature, a special edition where I talk about my book of the year, and my book of the year is Drafted by Rick Parker. Oh, by the way, we hit our 300th episode here in the Library of Graphic Literature. Just thought I'd mention that before I lavish praise on this book. It's a great graphic novel. For any of you who are interested in the Vietnam War, this is a must. Mainly because, as opposed to a lot of them which features on the war and all this, this talks about the drafted, being drafted and serving basically at home, and it's beautifully done. It's an experience. I read it and I couldn't put it down. It starts off, I love how it starts off where he's talking about, well, let's get right to the start here, where he's talking about, growing, his life growing up and all that, and he compares a lot of people he knows to certain comic book characters and all that. But what I really love is the transition from him drawing here to getting right into the story. He is a masterful storyteller, I have to say, and it goes through his entire process of being called up into the army, and it's a great coming of age story too, because he's a young man, and he really dwells on that too, which is great, and you get to meet a lot of the people along the way who also served. And I love this scene where he has to deal with a platoon of people who have washed out, and he's just there to watch over them until they're thrown out of the army. It's quite hilarious. But it's great. It goes through the training, which is brutal, and explains to me a lot of what was in the mindset of a lot of people who actually had to go over to Vietnam itself. It's very, very detailed, very beautifully told, and the scene actually where they have the boot camps scene, the war games, is just incredible. It scared the crap out of me. And this scene then where they're taking care of the nuclear missiles and all that is quite scary in a way. But it ends off on quite a sad note where there's and I'm not going to show you it all, I'm just going to show you a little bit of it there, where he's basically at a funeral for a fallen soldier back from Vietnam, and it is absolutely heartbreaking. So, like I say, for my book of the year, without doubt, is Drafted by Rick Parker, best known for his work on Beavis and Butthead for Marvel, and the thousands of Marvel comics he's lettered over the year. He's working, I hear, on a book called The Artiste, which I've seen some of the stories from it, and it's absolutely wonderful. The man is a master storyteller, like I said before, and this book is a lesson in master storytelling. And it is without doubt my favorite book of this year. It's a great graphic novel, and I urge you to run out and order yourself one for Christmas. Great reading. Drafted by Rick Parker. Anyway, thanks for having me over, and everyone have a great New Year's, and check in and see what we're up to at the Library of Graphic Literature when you get a chance. And thanks a lot to Omar. Happy holidays to everyone. Oh my God, it's taking me away!
I'm the Astonishing Melanie. And I'm Miss Lydia. And guess what? We both picked Daniel Warren Johnson's Transformers as our read of the year. I'm buying them in single issues, and I think that really made me enjoy it more. I looked forward to reading it, and then I was like, Lydia, you love Transformers? One of the reasons I picked it up is because Omar and her and Alicia love Transformers so much, and she loved it as well.
Yeah. And because we're reading it monthly, we get to know about the story earlier than Poppy does.
Yay! We're one up on Poppy. Woohoo! High five! Okay, so Daniel Warren Johnson through Image, specifically through Skybound, published, let's see, the Transformers run. He wrote and drew the art for the first 6 issues. Then in issue 7, Jorge Corona jumps on, and it's a seamless transition because his art style is so similar. And Lydia, you were just telling me that you like the art.
Yeah, like it has like a painted feel, and I really enjoyed the way it's drawn in all the colors.
I really enjoyed it because it's so fast paced. It's fun. It's got a lot of wrestling moves thrown in at least the first 6 issues. It was so much fun to be like, hey guys, guess what happened in the next issue? And you know, spoil it for Poppy. Let's see. I feel like you would enjoy this even if you're not a Transformers fan. If you're just aware of the genre, then you're good to go. Like, I don't know every single Transformer. However, Lydia...
I know a lot of them, and it's really fun, like, seeing them appear. Like, of course, there's a more limited cast, but, like, you know, more characters join in as the story goes on.
I will say that you can't expect characters to necessarily stick around. I did let a student read it, and she said she wasn't quite on board with how Decepticons were. Me, because I'm not a lifelong fan, I'm like, oh yeah, I loved it. I like all the violence and the... just how quick the story goes. What do you think about this battle between the Autobots and Decepticons?
I think it's accurate. Like, I guess I can understand, since in here, the Decepticons are definitely, like, they are evil. It's not like cartoonish, goofy evil. Like, they are actually just evil. At least some of them.
Just to wrap it up, it's written by a fan of Transformers, and it's kind of like, hey, if you want to see stuff that couldn't happen in the cartoon, check out this book.
Heyo, it's Omnidog from Omnidog's Vault, here to present what I consider, well, I'm not considering it. It is. It's my favorite book of the year, and thanks to Near Mint Condition for having me on. My book is Inside the Mind of Sherlock Holmes, The Case of the Scandalous Ticket. It is a French book translated into English by 2 French creators whose name I'm not even going to pretend I can pronounce, but it literally, and Tony from Sweden is the one who recommended this to me. It starts out, you literally get a look into the mind of Sherlock Holmes, and that's how fun this book is that it takes you through his process for solving the case by looking inside his mind, and also as he pieces the case together, you get a red string that follows all the way through the book and guides you through his thought process. And he starts out with a disheveled man who shows up at his door. The police say that the man claims he is a friend of Dr. Watson. The man has absolutely no memory of what has transpired for the past night, and he's very disoriented, and that makes it even better because Sherlock Holmes is definitely interested and on the case. So it's a fascinating read, well written, well illustrated, and it's also a little bit interactive because you get scenes like this where you get to participate by holding this up to the light, and you see what clue that Sherlock Holmes has come up with. It's on the other page, but it shows you what clue he has come up with and how he plans to work that into his thought process. And it is a wonderfully inventive, exciting, compelling. It kept my interest throughout the whole book. And here is another interactive thing. You see, he is playing his violin, and while he does that, clues start to come together, and you are asked to fold in gently, don't crease it, but you fold in the part here, and it shows you exactly what clues, it shows you exactly what clues he has zeroed in on. and is helping him to go further in the case. Here you see his mind working. And I thought this was very fun, very interesting, very much a deep dive, of course, into the mind of Sherlock Holmes. I highly recommend this book. Oversized hardcover from Titan Comics. They're doing a wonderful job this year with a lot of books. So thank you so much to Near Mint Condition for giving me the opportunity. I say to you, read Inside the Mind of Sherlock Holmes and rejoice in the most fun hobby in the world, comic books. Peace and love, peace and love.
Over 2 hours worth of people talking about comics. I love putting this video together. It is one of my favorite videos to put together. And honestly, it gave me a lot of ideas for books I haven't even checked out. My goodness, there were some great suggestions. Again, my video for my top 10 reads of the year will be coming December 31st. So that will be the last day of the year. And you may see some of the ones that have been chosen already in the video here. But yes, go and check out these folks. I did tag them, I think that's what it's called, in the description of the video. If you want to know more about their channels, their podcasts, and then of course, please give them a thumbs up. And yeah, give this video a thumbs up. It's a lot of fun to put together. And I hope some of them have given you all some suggestions to check out some books that intrigue you. But that is it, everybody. And if you all want to see this again, let me know in the comments. And we'll do this like every 6 months instead of every year, right? Like, why wait a year? Stay healthy and safe. Much love.